I'd be like, because it's not just a job to me, like it never ever will be. There's far easier ways to make money, that's for sure. So yeah, it breaks my heart, like it does it every single time regardless. But I think because this is a fight we wanted so much, we did get a fair crack at it with a 6-week camp, and it was a fight that I knew wholeheartedly I was very capable of winning. I think that was hard to sit with, really hard to sit with. But again,
we have interviews from female fighters from all around the world, as well as interviews and videos from press conferences and fight predictions. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. Sasha from Women's Fight News, and today I'm joined by Bec Connolly. Bec, how are you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Good. I feel like you've been so busy the last 2 weeks, like you have not given yourself a break. So how are you feeling?
I'm so tired, I have to admit. No, I had a lot of stuff at home to catch up on, where we'd been in the bubble for the week, and then like I'd done a 6-week camp properly, so kind of neglected a few things. So we've taken the kids away this week and been doing all the Mary Poppins rubbish, and then last week I went back to work because all my clients have like been neglected as well. So yeah, it's been a bit hectic.
Yeah, because I saw on your Instagram, I think it was only a couple of days after your fight, and you were going to go back to work.
Yeah. So it was one of them really. Like I'd booked a week off, and then I'd booked in a week like with the kids, just because I had it completely, genuinely, wholeheartedly in my head, the types of fighters we were, that it was going to be a bloodbath. So I'd kind of like put myself like a week and a half recovery period, thinking that I'd need it with clients. And then of course I didn't need anything. So I was like, well, this is just silly, wasting money and like neglecting people. So I'm just going to go straight back to it. And I think mentally it helped me like just distract and not sit and dwell on stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely. How are you feeling now that you've had time to reflect on the fight?
Still, yeah, I'd be like, because it's not just a job to me, like it never ever will be. There's far easier ways to make money, that's for sure. So yeah, it breaks my heart, like it does it every single time regardless. But I think because this is a fight we wanted so much, we did get a fair crack at it with a 6-week camp, and it was a fight that I knew wholeheartedly I was very capable of winning. I think that was hard to sit with, really hard to sit with. But again, it's one of them. I hate it when people make excuses, and I hate it when people say, yeah, well, this happened, that happened, this detracts from this. And I think, shut up, just seriously let that person have their win. Like, don't try and detract and take away from it. You had a 6-week camp. She deserves that moment in the spotlight. She's done that and deserves credit for it. For me, it's not back to the drawing boards, because I was really, really fit. It didn't even touch the engine. It was just a lucky, very well-placed temple shot, which happens. I was gutted that my plan in my head was like, legs gone, 10-8 round, just survive the round, like just defend the rest of the round and it'll be all right. We'll like regroup, go back out, win the next round. Obviously that wasn't to be. So that was hard to take it on the chin, don't you? But so yeah, it's just, and I think everything, like everyone always does. I think people always forget as well, especially with some of the bigger the fighters, the bigger the like comments are from the public. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, like for the most part, people are so lovely, and I'm always like, oh, thank you so much. There was a couple of really awful things said, and I just thought, no one, like, people forget that you're human and like you've got a whole other life outside of boxing, like work to go to for one, like not everything's perfect, everything always happens. And then I did get in my own head a bit, and I was like, oh, I might just do a tell-all interview and then they'll shut up, like, rah, rah. And then I was like, absolutely not, like, this is ridiculous, you've been a baby about it, like, just suck it up, get back to training, go rectify what you can. I'm still in the same position. I'm not saving any records. I'm still in the same position that for any of the girls coming across from Team GB and into the pro ranks, you've got to go past me. That I think still stands. The offers will still be the same. We won't, like, I just have to accept that I'm not going to get a fair fight again. That's 50-50 there for the taking. But again, that can all change. I've got 2 more years left. I'm just going to go out there and enjoy it now, I think. That would be the one like learning point I take away from this fight is I was on the stage I wanted to be on, in the fight I wanted to be in, with 6 weeks to prepare. And I instead of just being completely accepting of the things that went on in that 6 weeks, I got a little bit like, not bitter. I was like, oh, this is just typical. This is my, like, this would happen to me. And I didn't want to be there when it came to it. I was like, this is exactly what I wanted. And things are so rubbish at the moment. I don't, now I'm here, I don't want to be here. And I was just like, oh, this is like, I just need a few more weeks in your head. And I got in my own way a lot that week. And I really enjoy fight week. And I really enjoy everything around it. And for the first time ever, my head was like completely in other places. And I was like, oh, you're not even enjoying what you love now because everything's taken away from it. So I think coming back, coach obviously said to me as well, he said, the offers are going to come thick and fast, like when they have. You're not going out there until you sort your head out one way or another, like get this done, dealt with, finalised. Not gonna, obviously life's always going to distract in camp, but I've been running away from a few bits for a bit too long now, and that all came right to the top of it, fight week, and time to deal with everything, which always sucks, but that is the plan, and then get back out there as quickly as possible, really.
Yeah, because even though physically you were in unbelievable shape, mentally, obviously, if you're not at a good point, then the whole week and the fight's going to be difficult. And I never think it's talked about enough in boxing, like the mental side of it, because that's just, if not more important than the physical side.
Like, it is all mental, like, and that's the one thing I prided myself on over the years. And there's people in boxing that are very wary about what they say, because obviously if you've got any official mental health issues, you're not allowed to box. But I think the mental side and the aspect of the sport does need talking about, and people do need to be open about doing that. The stresses of life are not going anywhere, but I've always kind of prided myself on, even when I'm out of shape, I touch my toes, let's go next week after a kebab sort of thing. My mental strength is always so, like, I'm always in it to win it. And my mental strength in life generally has always been that's my selling point. And for the first time ever, I was like, physically, I'm in like great shape. Like, definitely diet wise, everything else, I couldn't have been fitter or stronger. But mentally I was probably in the worst place I've ever boxed in, and it showed. Not to anyone else maybe, but for how I was feeling fight week, I didn't want to leave the hotel room, and I wasn't enjoying like being there, whereas that's the stuff that I normally love doing. So yeah, it's one of them. As I say, came back, sorting a few bits out, congratulated her on the win, because like I say, I hate when people detract from someone's success. I'm like, oh, let her maybe shush you. So yeah, that's what we're doing. We have had an offer come in for October that I'm interested in taking, so I'm hoping that everyone's deciding at the moment, so I'm hoping they'll go ahead with that, so that I feel like that 6-week camp was expensive and wasn't worth it. So I'd like to, it's been 10 days now, no 13 days, 2 weeks, isn't it? I've eaten all the pizza, drank all the wine, eaten the chocolate, and I'm ready to go back to, I've been training still obviously, but yeah, I'm ready to go back to it. And I just feel that if we went into camp Monday, I haven't wasted these 6 weeks. We're just building on it. And it would only take a week to get back to where we sort of were. So as I say, I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I'm going to have those conversations over the weekend that I am ready. We'll see if anyone else thinks that. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be good. And like I say, I just want to get back to enjoying myself, and remembering that this isn't just a job; it's what I love doing. And and not expect anything again. I think I had too many expectations this time of myself and how the fight was going to be, and that was more disappointing than just sometimes when you're in with like all the Olympic and Team GB lot, there's no footage of them, you know how good they are because you've seen them and stuff, but there's no footage and they're all over the show, and it's just you're in there and you have to go as the fight goes on. This time we did have perfect footage, didn't we, from the Shannon Courtney fight, and that was a big learning curve as well, because as much as you say what I said, like you can't plan for everything, and in my head I was like, yeah, but no matter what happens, what comes out, you're always used to someone doing their own thing and being all over the shop. But there was little things we drilled, like we knew or we thought the right uppercut left hook combo was gonna, like, even if she's working on something else, that is her go-to combo. So we drilled like a low left hand, high right. And of course I got caught high on the left temple, but where I drilled it for so long, captain, it was just in there. And I think that's a learning curve for me. I won't do that again. I'll focus purely on me, not on anything else.
Because that's what I was going to ask, was obviously typically, especially in recent times, you're always pulled in last minute. So I know like physically you were in great shape, but I was wondering like mentally, how does that play, having that longer training camp? Like, do you obviously overanalyze there at times? And
yeah, absolutely. I think it was actually detrimental to, because sometimes when you just attach your toes and go, you don't overthink stuff, you just enjoy experiences and you go out there and you do what you've got to do. This time, like I say, there was a couple of things. I have a really good sports hypnotherapist that I've had for she's a friend now, definitely. I've had her for 4 years, and unfortunately during the pandemic she shut down part of her business, so she wasn't able to do that for the last 6 months since the Ali fight. And I noticed a huge difference. If I had any doubt in my mind that hypnotherapy works like before, like it's like cemented now. That is something that was part of my training program and kept me completely focused. And it's not a sport that we work on, really. I'll be completely honest. I have hypnotherapy for my confidence because I've got really low self-esteem, and it just keeps me and people always find that really surprising because I'm always out doing interviews and what God knows what else, but I do take everything to heart, and I do find it really, really difficult to walk out there. Like, I don't find fighting difficult. You might say, well, we can see that, but you can think what you want of me as a fighter. You can say I'm rubbish, I'm this, that, the other, or think I'm great. Like, that side of things doesn't play in my mind at all, because I'm doing what I love to do. As soon as that first bell's gone, like, that's what I love. Like, I don't find fighting hard in the slightest little bit. It's everything around it that I find so difficult. Like that walk from the changing room for me, knowing that everyone's looking at you. Like, I find like the little things like that really difficult. Like, I don't want to be center of attention and under that, but at the same time, as a fighter, that's exactly what you need to be. So it's a conflict of interest within myself. But I noticed like my lack of confidence was affecting like all areas in my life, like completely. I'm a very everything's peachy to you or it's not, and I'm out here kind of person with everything. Like, oh, bad vibes, let's leave. I don't like to. I'm not confrontational, and I don't sort stuff, and I'm out of there. And sometimes actually things do need sorting, and you do need to stand up for yourself, and you do need to set your own boundaries. And that's what we've been working on, and it obviously helped massively with the boxing. And this time I felt like my confidence was on the floor. I knew it was going to be a tricky one, because I'm thinking I'm standing next to like glamour model material on the way in, and I'm like, oh God, look at me. I'm thinking, oh, this is all eyes are going to be on her, but that also means they're going to see me first.
You looked amazing all fight week. You were fine. You looked amazing.
Oh, thank you.
But I must say also, I go to hypnotherapy and I swear by it. I absolutely love it. During the pandemic, yeah, it's brilliant. Everyone laughs at me. They all think I'm like this hippie, and I'm like, no. Go, and it is unbelievable. Changes your life. I love it.
Oh yeah, and I'm the least like hippie person, and she's brilliant because she explains everything with science, and I'm like, yeah, I get that, yeah, and I get to sleep for now. It's
brilliant. Like you've just said, like obviously all eyes were on both of you. Obviously Ebanie has drew in like big fan base, but you've got a massive fan base as well. The whole like, I always think like every fighter wants to be on a Matchroom card. Of course they do. It's so big. Everyone wants to be on it. But as a like, I would dread that whole week build up because it's just like you say, all eyes are on you. So does that affect you like leading in to that fight?
It did this time, like I say, because I was in a real low place mentally, confidence wise. And so that affected me. But I have to say, like with the Scotney fight, I just enjoyed all of, like I was ready mentally, and with the Ali fight I hardly had any 3 days. I was just in a whirlwind of, hey, let's go. So it was absolutely fine. This time I'm not gonna lie at all, my brain was my own worst enemy, like convinced me like that I wasn't good enough, that I shouldn't be there, and I got in my own way massively, and listened to too many negative comments, but like I say, I know what the issues are that need sorting. I know until I sort them, I don't have the brain space or the stress levels down enough to deal with like trying to work on your confidence and getting back to like, because the ring walk was always the bit that I absolutely loved, all the way through, like all those amateur fights, everything else, like, and I thrive off the crowd and the atmosphere and everything. And all of a sudden I'm like, what happened to that girl? Like, where's that girl gone? I want her back. I liked that a lot. So yeah, definitely. Next time I'm out, hopefully, if they say yes, will be October. And I just want to move on very, very swiftly. As long as I put in a good performance, I'm not results driven, but I am performance driven. And I just feel like, I know people were saying they really enjoyed the first 3 rounds, and they were like, yeah, it was back and forth even. And I remember coming back to the corner because that wasn't our game plan at all. I was going to move off, like punch and move and box. But after the first round, they were like, if you can sit there and trade, like you don't need to move off this girl at all. And I was like, yeah, this is fine. But of course, and it takes a one shot, doesn't it, to do that. So yeah, I do feel like everything we worked on, all the movement and the foot movement, that it was not my typical style. I didn't get a chance to showcase. So like I say, if we get this fight and go straight back into another 6-week camp, I'd like to like showcase that, because I didn't work that hard to not change my style, because I'll always just want to stand and train, but just like to box a lot more. So it'd have been, I wanted to be able to showcase that, and never got round to doing that. And I think for me, the later rounds are where I like come into my own, because my fitness is always there and I do pick up halfway through the fight. So yeah, hopefully, like I say, we're in discussions today, so by Monday you should know. And I just got this niggling thing in me now. It's like I need to get back out there and quit.
Yeah, definitely, because like you say, you've had like such a good camp, so you've had a little rest. If you can go back into it, and hopefully that could help your confidence as well, knowing that you've kind of had an even longer camp in a sense, because you can put the two together. Definitely.
And I have to say, one of those, I was always like it with like cross country and that in school, when you're against someone that you're not meant to be, like that, like you're the complete underdog, it's not an even fight. Like I go into like Ellie, Scotty and that, like I knew what we were up against, like when you're this much, like I knew getting in with the Sasha trainers, it was a bit ridiculous, but I was also like, hey, you don't get this chance every day. But I went in like there was no pressure. It was all like, wow, you're not expected to be able to pull this off. So you just literally do your best. And came away from that really tapping myself on the back for like doing it. Whereas this time, I think because people in boxing knew that I was more than able to win that fight, and it was a good, even fight at the very minimum was what was expected, that put more pressure on than I normally have.
Because you have been in the ring with some of, especially like Britain's best. You've been in with like Terry Harper, Tasha Jonas, Ellie Scottney, Ramla Ali. So I mean, you're clearly not afraid to get in the ring with anyone, because I mean, we've got like world champions in there. But like you say, I can imagine, and I remember saying that to friends in your build-up, is that this must be a lot of pressure and a different feeling, I suppose, for you as well going into this fight.
Yeah, this one was like, as you say, like even like Kristine Shergold, the Scottish girl, I forget. Forgotten her name now, how rude. All of them, like they've been so like such class opponents. Rachel Ball, like really
Ball,
you knew what you were getting in with. Terry Harper stood it that way, and I'm thinking this is a big girl. But and this time the pressure was completely different, because I had not that I'm physically fearful of like fighting anyway, but physically I knew these girls could do me a lot of damage in that fight if I wasn't on top of my game, because they are the world's best. They are most of them world champions. And the experience also, like experience is I've got a lot of it, so I use that. But getting in with Olympians and Team GB, like they've got the experience, so that isn't like you're not getting a peg up on anything here. So I had those feelings. This time obviously I was physically going to be able to match this fight, and experience wise I was definitely going to be able to match this fight. Style wise it was what I wanted. So the in theory it should have been a dream, like, and instead I got in it affected my head differently. So yeah, it's just one of them. It is what it is.
You live and learn.
Oh, exactly that. And she was a dead nice woman, and really respectful, and you can't ask for more than that. Like I say, I've only met a few people in boxing that haven't been, and they stand out like sore thumbs. But yeah, it was absolutely fine. Just from a personal point of view, it was a really good opportunity for me because it doesn't take women a lot of wins at that level to be right back in the mix, and turn things around massively, which obviously I've always promised the kids that we would leave with something, that this wasn't all for nothing. But so yeah, so I think I was thinking in my head, right, you're not going to get another decent shot for quite some time. You either go back to a small hall selling tickets, rack up a few Eastern European wins in front of a home crowd again, and then I'm thinking I've paid my dues, I've done my time in small hall. Like, I didn't skip the process, I went through the process fully. I love fighting in Swindon, I love having a home crowd, and I always like they're ridiculous. It blows my mind every time. They're a proper leader. And that's wicked. But I was thinking, do I want to do this? Don't get me wrong, if there was a good opportunity on a home show, not just a fight for the sake of fighting, I would definitely do it here, because I'd want to give like Wiltshire people back something. And then I'm thinking, to stay on the big cards, that your option is to fight all the debutees that believe they're good enough, that are coming across from Team GB, want to fast track their careers, the ones that have got balls like Ellie Scottney and that, and want to dive straight in at the deep end. And hats off to them. Like, I think that's great, like when you're making that crossover, because it doesn't matter how much experience you've got, how good a fighter you are, that when they're fighting, it's almost like sports halls, kind of clinical sort of atmosphere. And then when you go pro and you're chucked in with the lights and everything else, like it can affect, like, and I have seen it affect some class amateurs, just haven't been able to make the transition. So hats off to them. And I think that is probably, so the discussion in my head was, do we accept that you're going to get a call up with 2-3 days notice and not be ready again and just wing it? Or do you go back into camp? You've got 2 years left of your contract. Is 2 years too much to suck up? Stay in camp, stay ready, so that when you get the calls, you are actually in fight shape. And then as it happened, we got a call talking about a fight in 5 weeks time, 6 weeks time. So I was like, oh, okay. They're like pinpointing me after that fight because they believe they can win. But actually that still helps me because it means work's still coming in. I'm still going to get a shot to do something that I love, probably against the best in the world. Not the best option. But I thought, you know what? You're in it for a good time, but a short time, aren't you? So I might as well stay at this level and keep fighting and keep doing what I do. And like I say, apart from the odd, like, horrible thing that's been said that I just need to forget, everyone's so supportive. Like, they're so good. I've got, like, it's such a niche little fan base as well. Like, they're wicked, and I can't thank them enough. Like, they know that I'm absolutely shocking at technology and everything else. Like, well, they're trying to explain to me, you need to do X, Y, and Z to get your followers up and this and that. And I'm like, oh, I can barely turn my phone on. I'm only just so yeah,
you do have such a big fan base. And after that fight, I remember thinking, I wonder if you will go to small hall shows and stuff. But you do belong on the big stage, and you do belong. Everyone wants to watch you. Everyone does. And, you know, everyone was calling for, you know, the fight with yourself and Ebanie, and then it got made. And I think the Ellie Scottney fight, I mean, props to her, by the way. When that fight got announced, I was like, oh, she's brave going in with Bec Connolly. But you know,
it sets them up from the start. That's what I was sort of saying, because I am in a position that I'm kind of like we were saying to Eddie, like, the depth of the division, there isn't the depth like the men's at all. And it's getting so much better, but you've gone from having like the classic journey women to the best in the world, the top of the top, the world champions, and nothing in between. And I was that girl. I was stuck right bang smack in the center. So now I kind of, like, everyone kind of knows, if you're going to make it in the bantamweight, featherweight, super feather, like, you've got to get past me first, at least for the next 2 years, ladies.
Yes. Because there's Raven Chapman as well, who has obviously turned over. Yeah, he manages, and I know he's mentioned a few times he'd love for you two to fight. Obviously, we do have it a full training camp, which again would be an awesome fight.
I haven't got any footage of Raven, but I'm pretty sure I've seen her fight before, and she's phenomenal, and she's strong too. I think she's got a real wicked career ahead of her. And I don't know who her PT is at the moment. I've been following along her journey, but she is in bagging shape. I'm stealing little bits to do with my clients. I'm like, oh, this. Some of the science that's coming out now, it's like, oh wow, yeah, that makes loads more sense than what we've been doing for all these years. Been up at 5 a.m. running 20 miles a day in the rain, and these kids are doing like 20 minutes in the gym.
Yeah. You say gone are them days, aren't they, for boxers, where they have it? It's like the Rocky days, isn't it, where you have to get up and, like you say, run a marathon.
I have to say, though, I try all this fancy stuff, and I always go back to the skipping rope and back to the road. Like, you can't. Yeah. Well, you can beat it, but for me, it's just in the head, like, like that. No one else is out here in the rain. You must be doing something right.
No, it's right. It's completely right. So obviously you said you got another 2 years on your contract, so say hopefully you'll be out in October. Do you have any more plans that you'd like to look to do in boxing?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, like I know that I'm not world level. I know that I'm Commonwealth level, like, and I would love a decent shot at the Commonwealth again. Like that would be my dream come true. But I also appreciate I've got to get some good wins under my belt, otherwise that's not going to happen. So like I said, I'm ready now to go camp to camp to camp, back to back, have a week off in between and back to it, because 2 years isn't a lot of time. It isn't. But I definitely feel like I've got 5-6 more good wars in me before I'm sat down on the sofa. And then, like afterwards, I've been talking to Craig a lot about this as well, because trying to figure out, like, I definitely want to stay in sport. I'd really, really like to do some commentary. Like that would be something I'd be really, really interested in. I know I got to with DAZN last year when Katie Taylor fought and Rachel Ball, they did the all female card, didn't they? So I was able to go and commentate on that, and I absolutely loved it. Like, so I think I'd like to be involved somehow, maybe doing the interviews and maybe like somehow. And I know I've got to go out there and get experience first. So anybody wants someone to come and get experience, home you go. And I appreciate, like, you're not going to like make any money at it to start with, but that is something that I'd be interested in heading into. And then with all the women that are coming up and through the ranks, like I appreciate with the British board, you've got to have a license for a coaching license for 3 years before you can get your managerial one. But there's not many female managers out there managing female fighters, and I would love at some point when I'm completely done with fighting to say, come on girls, like none of the rubbish that we went through and all the shit pay and like stupid deals and stupid fights, like you're not going to have to go through that if you've got a female manager fighting on your behalf all the time. So I would potentially really like to see the girls that are coming up through the ranks and the young'uns now into it, so they come out with a good career and prospects and money, not just the top of the top, like everyone, like with the men, like the British men, the European level men, they don't not get paid well or not do well because they're not world level. They still get that, and the women deserve the same at some point. It's going to be like that because luckily fight fans of women are growing in this country, and like the top girls are like paving the way with that. So yeah, it's exciting for the future. I've definitely got a few plans, hopefully that I'll get a chance and opportunity and run with it at some point. But in the meantime, I'm just gonna get back out there fighting as quickly as possible, rectify some wrongs, get some wins under my belt, hopefully fight some top prospects, have some big nights. Don't know what's happening with Sky at the moment, like because Matchroom obviously went to DAZN, and who's got Sky?
It's a bit strange, I think, at the minute, because I think there's still Matchroom fighters with Sky Sports rather than with DAZN. It's
very confusing.
So I don't quite understand how that's going to work and what shows they're going to be on. Because I know Anthony Joshua's obviously still with Sky. So
because the 25th with Sky, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyone on that undercard, I'm presuming, won't be the fighters that have signed with DAZN. So it's all someone was telling me about because
I was looking at some of the cards that are on Sky, and they're still really good cards, aren't they? So I was thinking, how is this working? But if anyone wants a free commentator for Anthony Joshua fight like that, I'd be down with that, boys.
And that's the perfect place to start. That's where you get your experience. No, but I think you'd be a brilliant commentator, and like you say as well, going into other areas in boxing, there's just not enough women in general. Like we're seeing it a little bit more with the commentating and the presenting a little bit, obviously with who DAZN have signed, but even when you're looking at managers, like you say, there isn't any, and the female boxing journey is very different than the male's boxing journey, so there needs to be more women involved, so like you say, they can pave the way for the upcoming fighters.
Oh, absolutely. And just across the board, there's just women generally missing in sport, like female athletes, just even with the coaches, like And even some of the top coaches, they just treat female bodies like mini male bodies and expect weight cuts and gym sessions and everything else to be the same. We're obviously very, very different. I'm fortunate because what I do in my other job is very much to do with that. So I'm able to sort of keep on checking myself, but it's very obvious when I'm working with loads of different coaches and they've got young girls under them. And I'm like, oh, this is, it needs women in sport. It does, because we are not mini men. No. And we don't recover, we don't perform, we're just very different. We're not, obviously men are stronger, fitter, faster, and they should be in peak condition than a woman in peak condition. But we want to be treated equally, but we're not equal physically, so we need to treat them very differently, like when training, and our recovery rates are very different. Our hormone profile makes a huge difference, and weight cutting with things like your period is just an absolute minefield. And I just don't think the same things that work for men work for women at all. So generally in the future, more women, we need more women.
Yes, we do, 100%. Bec, thank you so much for your time. I hope your fight comes off in October, and I hopefully as well see you on the screens commentating or presenting as well.
Oh, I'd really love that.